Recall the case of the people versus Benson. Counsel, state your appearance. State your
We're
appearance.
so sorry. Katie Rismersky.
Good afternoon, May please. Honorable Court, Kareem Johnson, on behalf of Ms. Benson.
Ms. Vincent, prior to what was a recess, I already had admonished counsel and told counsel that I was not going to deal with your outburst. I am not, ma'am, please don't. And I'm not going to tolerate it anymore. I let the first one slide, the second one, then that's when we took that break. I want you to be well aware and have my warning that if we have any more outbursts from you at all, that what will happen is you will then be precluded from this proceeding. We will put you in another location and you will watch these proceedings on video. You understand that?
I understand, sir.
Thank you. All right. Sir, I would just remind you that you are still under oath. Mr. Johnson, you may proceed.
Okay, sir. I believe before we broke, so it's your testimony that you first learned of the physical and sexual abuse allegations during a CPS investigation that occurred after the January 1st incident. Okay. Were you present during any of the video visitations that Miss Vincent had with her daughter, True? And these visits, I believe, would occur once a week?
Usually. That was most instructed by the court.
Right. So Ms. Vincent did have contact and the ability to view her daughter. You were not able to tell law enforcement what vehicle, if any, Ms. Vincent left in, correct? You weren't able to tell law enforcement or give them a description or license plate number of the vehicle, correct? Do you remember when you went to Ali Wright's home after the incident and being asked a second time who it was that shot you? No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
If I may briefly.
You go ahead.
The visits that the defendant was granted with her daughter, True, as of January 1st, those visits were just to take place virtually?
So, clarify the date. I mean, I can walk you through how the visits, changed, but I just want to clarify, I want to answer your question correctly. So,
Yeah.
So the visits were virtual at that point.
Yes. And thank you for making me be very clear with my language. They had been virtual for a period of time leading up to January 1st.
Right.
Were they also supervised?
Yes.
By whom?
By a caseworker from Americas.
Was that your job or your wife's job to supervise those visits?
No.
Your presence in those visits or your wife's presence in those visits, what was that about?
That was just simply to, so the visits were virtual, obviously, in our home. Initially, when they first started, we were just using a laptop. As you can imagine, having any 4-year-old in front of a laptop, needed some sort of assistance because she would, push the buttons, and there were a few times where she turned the computer off. So we actually tried to help and assist with the visits to make them successful. And so we connected the laptop to a television, so True could sit at a table with toys and snacks.
Some lie loudly, some lie with tears. Some hide behind legal jargon. But no matter how polished, lies decay fast under cross-examination, and the first crack is always in the voice.
And have this virtual visit on the TV. Now, that TV, privacy my father was upstairs in the bedroom. And, you know, as any responsible parent, you're not just going to leave a 4-year-old by themselves in a room for an hour. So whether my wife or I, we would be in that room to assist to make sure that the computer was turned off or there was something, going on that True was safe. When I did it, I would step into our bathroom, so she didn't have any sight because I didn't want to interrupt. My wife, when she did it, would sit off camera in a corner, trying not to distract her. And the caseworker was, as you mentioned, supervising what was on the Zoom call from the location.
But always there for those visits.
Yeah, so that's the way it started. When it moved from in-person supervised visits to virtual, that it became problematic with those visits for various reasons, and there was a decision that was made. Don't know all that went into that decision from the foster care agency, but they made the decision that the caseworker would actually come to our house and have the visit virtually with True in her room. And so we were no longer, once those started, we were not, for the most part, a part of those visits, except when the caseworker couldn't come.
How long had that been the case before January 1st?
I believe it was so the last visit happened towards the end of November, and I think that that was the case probably for a month and a half, possibly 2 months. The visits were not always consistent.
I was going to ask that. Why not?
Because of Miss Vincent would cancel or not show up or show up late, and we get rescheduled. So there was a problem. We had several discussions with the foster care agency about how to improve and make that better for all of us. Yeah.
I think just one last issue. And it has to do with those 3 individuals entering your home that evening. You've talked about noises and you've described them. Was there any property damage? Tell us about that.
So there was, so there's, the way I described it is, we had, to fix all the property, there was several quotes from contractors. And then our insurance company had, did an evaluation and paid out, and the total amount that was paid out from our insurance for everything was $50,000. A portion of that was from just the cleanup. And there was significant damage to our floor, obviously from the gunshots and the blood. There were sections of our floor that were removed because of that. There was damage to parts of our cabinetry that had to be done. There was damage to going up the stairs, the railing. There was several things that had to be repaired in that. There was damage to the front door, the main door and the screen door. The screen door was replaced. There was had to replace the hinges on the door, and there was sprays and paint, that I haven't even done that yet, but, that needs to be repaired. And, yeah, that was pretty, I mean, there's a list from the insurance company of all the details, but that's what I can recover. So the damage to fix everything, which didn't even cover the floor, but it was paid out of about $15,000 from the insurance company, but that didn't even cover the floor.
Specifically as it pertains to damage to those doors, the screen door and the front door, were those items, those doors, damaged in any way before that incident that night? Thank you. I don't have anything further.
Anything else?
No, yeah.
All right. Sir, you may step down. Thank you very much for your testimony.
And Your Honor, for clarity, may he be released from his subpoena? I believe he desires to leave.
All right. Any objection? All right, yes, you're released. Sir, take care.
Thank you.
May call your next witness.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. David Kennedy for the people. At this time, the people would call Sergeant Jane Back.
When a judge speaks, the words echo far beyond that room. They follow the guilty into prison cells, the innocent into therapy, and the lawyers into sleepless nights. Every sentence isn't just a decision, it's a haunting. Because justice doesn't end when the gavel falls, it lingers.
Sir, please come forward and be sworn.
Officer required to testify. See, say and spell your name.
James Basso, James Basso.
All right, you may inquire.
Good afternoon, Sergeant Basso. How are you doing today? Where is it that you're currently employed?
Northfield Township.
And how long have you been employed there?
I've been employed with Northfield Township for 5 years now.
Do you have prior police experience to before joining the Northfield Township team?
31 years of police experience.
And in your capacity as a sergeant with Northfield Township Police Department, were you working on January 1st of 2025?
I was.
And were you dispatched to Noller Bend Drive?
I was.
And that's in Northfield Township in Washtenaw County?
Correct.
Do you recall what time the dispatch came in?
Roughly 8:30.
Roughly 8:30. And do you recall what the nature of the dispatch was?
The caller stated there was his neighbor was on his porch and he had been shot in the face and in the chest.
And where did you respond from?
I was in the Eagle Garden subdivision, which is off East Shore Drive near Posey Drive.
And did you go straight to the address dispatched?
Yeah, it was a wintry day. The roads were kind of fairly snow covered, so it took me a little bit to get there just because of the conditions.
Sure. And what address were you initially dispatched to, if you recall?
I don't recall the exact address.
Would a 2039 Noller Bend?
Sounds correct.
And what happened when you arrived there?
Officer Diacono was treating, later identified as Jeff Bernard. He was talking to Jeff and giving treatment, medical care to him. There was some concern of other potential victims at the house, Jeff's house.
Okay.
So myself, a couple of Ann Arbor officers and some deputies went to the neighbor's house and left officers Diacono and Musser to treat the patient.
Okay. Before we move on, did you observe any injuries on Jeffrey Bernhard when you made contact with him that night?
Yes.
Could you describe those injuries to the court?
Yeah, I went into the breezeway, he was sitting in a chair. The right side of his face had massive damage. Eye was completely swollen up, very bloody. We had removed his t-shirt and then there was a gunshot wound to his chest as well.
And at that point, are you relaying any information to dispatch or relate any information to?
We're sharing as much information as we're getting between myself and the other officers that were initially on scene. We were sharing information over dispatch. It's the quickest and the most efficient way to do it.
Okay. And you said, and then you traveled to another home. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you recall the address of that home?
House directly to the east of that residence that we were at.
Sure.
I do not recall the specific numbers. No.
Okay. What, a 2053 Noller Bend?
Yes, that would be the one.
And when you arrived at the home, was the front door of the home open or closed?
So the front door was closed. The garage door, the main garage door was open. The lights on were in the garage was on, as well as lights on within the house itself.
Did you observe any damage to the front door of the home?
No, we did not.
Could you describe to the court your entry into the home?
So, once we had sufficient manpower and we waited for an Ann Arbor officer to get there with a ballistic shield where we had stacked up and made entry into the home. I had set up enough people to guard the exit to the garage to make sure as we went in one door, nobody was going out the other door. So we had some planning to put strategic people around the house to make sure as we went in. Once we got enough people, the front door was open, it was unlocked, closed but unlocked, and we entered in like a stack type formation behind the sheet.
And did you discover anything in the entrance of the home?
As you walk in the home, there's a hallway. There was a room initially to our left, which ended up being like a den or an office area. That hallway opened up into a bigger area with the living room on the left and kitchen on the right. As that hallway came in, we could see two legs kind of poking out on the floor into the hallway. As soon as we made entry, we saw it and we're like, we got somebody down, we see the legs. And that's when we continued down that hallway.
And at that time, did you know if there was anybody else in the home at all?
The only information we had was what we were relayed to us by Jeff, which was his wife was there and his father.
So what happens next?
We secured the one room on the left. We went into the kitchen area and we started to secure, making sure there was nobody in the living room. We went into the kitchen. Right immediately to our right, there was two sets of stairs, one that goes up and one that goes down. The Ann Arbor officers stood point there while I continued into the kitchen. And when I walked through the kitchen, there was another body down the hallway that goes to the garage, just like right around the kitchen corner.
What did you do next?
I cleared that hallway. And then there was a pantry area to the left. I cleared that. And then I took point by the stairs while the Ann Arbor officers went up and down and cleared the second story in the basement.
And at that point, did you check on the victims or were you still in the process of clearing the home?
Once we had made sure everything was clear and there was nobody initially was there, I checked both patients for any signs of life and there was.
You know, at this time, I'd like to approach with People's Proposed Exhibits 6 and 7.
Yes, you may.
Approach. Thank you, Your Honor. Start off with People's Proposed Exhibit number 6. Sergeant Basso, could you please tell the court what that image is?
So that is the image of Mr. Smith on the floor. That is the position that we found him in. His legs, these were the legs that were protruding down the hallway. The hallway would have been running like that.
And were you able to determine where the gunshot was or? And
Once I checked him, I did not roll him over or move him in any way, shape, or form at that point.
Okay.
So I had no idea where he was shot at.
And he's in that photograph in a lying down position.
Face down on his belly with a large pool of blood coming from underneath his head, chest area. Out.
Okay, perfect. I'd like to move on to the next exhibit, exhibit number 7. Could you tell the court what that photograph is?
That is the picture of Miss Bernard, the way she was as I entered the house.
And in that instance, were you able to determine where the gunshot What was?
I did not move her. I'm assuming it was her head just based off where the blood was coming from and her body positioning.
Your Honor, at this time, I would move for the admission of people's proposed exhibits for 6 and 7.
Any objection or voir dire?
No, Your Honor.
All right, exhibit 6 and 7 are admitted.
Did you then relay any information to dispatch at that point?
Yep, as we made in, every time we came across a body, we informed dispatch that we had a person down and we had a second person down. We also informed them that we were clearing the house with the initial search. We actually did 2. We did the initial one for adults.
Mhm.
We did a secondary one to look for any kids that were hidden because we knew that there were 2 kids in the home. We didn't know if maybe they were hiding in the home. That was still at an unknown at that point in time.
Did you locate any children in the home at all?
We did our secondary search, which was a little more detailed, looking into cabinets, looking into doors, looking into more smaller areas within the house where kids might be hiding.
And was that information relayed?
Yes.
And following the first and the secondary search, did you then secure the home?
Yes, at that point, once we knew nothing was in the home, I secured the front door. I posted up one of the other Northfield officers at that door, and then I closed the garage door to maintain the security from that entrance. I wanted one way in and one way out for anybody going into the home.
And did you remain at the home throughout the night, or did you go somewhere else?
For the majority, but I was also, once Detective Robbins showed up and Lieutenant Powell, we had enough. They were doing the processing of the house. I went to try to notify next of kin. I then eventually went to the hospital and interviewed one of the subjects that got arrested.
And just one additional question. Throughout either your primary or secondary search of 2053 Noller Bend that night, did you notice any bullet casings?
So once I made an entry into the kitchen, Mr. Smith was on the floor. As soon as you turn right into the kitchen, there's like an island with some chairs. And along with the stairwell, there were 2 that I can remember, brass bullet casings, pistol casings.
No more questions from you, Your Honor. Thank you.
Cross-examination.
No questions.
All right, thank you. Thank you. You may step down. Yes. Thank you. You may call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ellie Zend on behalf of the people. Your Honor, the people would call Deputy Jeff.
The judge doesn't yell to control the room. They don't need to. A single pause, a quiet stare, that's enough to make even the toughest attorney stumble. Silence is the most dangerous weapon in the courtroom because it forces everyone to listen to themselves.
Please come forward and be sworn.
I swear or affirm testimony about to be the truth, or truth, and nothing but the truth. So we have to see, state, and spell your name.
Gabriel Bechtel, Gabriel Bechtol.
You may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Deputy Bechtel, where are you currently employed? And how long have you been employed there? And do you have any prior police experience? Okay. And were you working in your capacity as a deputy with the Sheriff's Department on January 1st of 2025?
Yes.
And what was your assignment on that date? And what does that mean?
Just drive around the township, enforce traffic, and take calls and service.
Okay. And how long does that shift normally last for?
12 hours.
So would that be When does it end? What time on this specific?
Start at 8 p.m. I end at 8 a.m.
So this would have ended on January 2nd at 8 a.m.? Okay. And on that date, were you in a patrol vehicle by yourself?
Yes.
And was it a marked patrol vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And on that date, did you assist Northfield Township Police Department with an investigation? What was the context of that investigation?
Metro East Dispatch advised that there was a shooting that just occurred shortly after shift change, so shortly after 8 p.m. And then one of our deputies, there was a name release, a possible name release, and one of our deputies saw that there was contacts with a house in our area in Ypsilanti Township. And I went to that house and sat nearby.
And do you recall where that house was, what the address was? And is that in Ypsilanti Township?
Yes.
Washtenaw County, state of Michigan? Okay. So you went to sit at that location. What happened while you were at that location?
I was sitting actually just west of the address at a park, where I could see the front of the house, and I was just waiting for any suspicious activity or vehicles to come and go. And then a black SUV pulled out of the driveway and turned and went eastbound on Lexington Parkway.
So pulled out of that 1201 Lexington address?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do after you saw this vehicle?
I then turned on my headlights and caught up behind the vehicle and to try to obtain a license plate. Right when I got behind the vehicle, it turned off into a driveway.
And
It turns out on River Road and right into a driveway, and I drove past it.
okay. And then what happened?
I sat down on the road a ways, like a couple houses down, and watched for more suspicious activity. And then the vehicle backed out, went back northbound on Fall River, and then westbound on Lexington Parkway. So I called back up to the vehicle again, and it repeated its previous behavior and turned into another driveway. So I went past it, sat houses down, and it again reversed out, went back westbound Lexington Parkway, and passed 1201 Lexington Parkway again, and then turned southbound on Lentville Ave. I caught up to the vehicle. It turned onto Rambling, I believe, and then it turned again onto Raleigh Court, which was a dead end.
Mhm.
And then I went past it again and just sat down by the baseball court where I could see the entrance of Raleigh Court off of Lentville Ave.
Okay. And did the vehicle leave that street?
The vehicle never came back.
Okay. And at that time, did you observe anyone in the area?
And a black male came running out of Raleigh Court, crossed the road, and then started coming towards my patrol vehicle.
And what did you do at that point when you saw him coming towards your vehicle?
I then drove towards him and I initiated my overhead lights and got out of the patrol vehicle to speak.
And what happened next?
I asked why he was driving the car around with no license plate, and I asked why he dumped the car down on Raleigh Court. He told me that he looked
Objection, hearsay, but this is what you're saying.
And we'll move on from what he said, Your Honor.
All right, very good.
So without getting into what the individual said, what did you do next after speaking with that individual?
Once I figured out that he was coming from 1201 Lexington, I detained him.
Okay. And then what happened?
I placed him in my patrol vehicle, and then I saw a black female walking from Raleigh Court towards my location.
And who did that female turn out to be?
Siobhan Vincent.
And how did you know it was Siobhan Vincent?
She was identified by her Michigan SOS photo and date of birth.
Okay. Siobhan Vincent in the courtroom today? Can you identify something she's wearing and where she's sitting in the courtroom?
She's wearing a green jumpsuit.
Your Honor, please let the record reflect that this witness has made an in-court identification of the defendant.
Without objection, record shall so be.
So did Siobhan say anything to you when you first encountered her?
When I first encountered her, I was on foot, and she said that she was looking for her son.
Okay. And what did you do next?
I then questioned her where she was coming from, and she also stated 1201 Lexington. And I asked for her name, and she told me that her name was Ty.
And then what happened?
Then I went to detain her, and she became uncooperative. I reached for her wrist, she pulled away from me. And at that time, I had more units coming to the area because I explained that I was dealing with people that were possibly related to the street. And then one of my deputy Hannah, while she was resisting and helping place her in handcuffs.
Okay. And after she was placed in handcuffs, what happened next?
Then I conducted a pat down with Deputy Hannah on her left side. I just patted down for weapons.
Did you locate anything? Okay. And after the pat down, or during the pat down, did she follow instructions? What was she doing?
She started bending over and trying to the shoulder pain and wanted to stand up straight.
So what did you do after that?
After the pat down was done, I tried to place her in the back of Patrol Vehicle 72, and she was uncooperative and wanted to get inside the car.
So she was refusing to get in the vehicle? Okay. And after, did you get her in the vehicle eventually?
I did not.
Was she placed in the vehicle eventually by someone?
Tick, papers shuffle. Tick, the bailiff's stare doesn't move. Every sound in this room means something. The prosecution's sigh, the defense's pen tap, the juror's cough, they all form a rhythm. The rhythm of power. In this room, every second decides whether the truth survives the day.
Yes.
Okay. And after she was put in the vehicle, what did you do next?
Like I previously said, there was more deputies in the area at this time. Because I said that there was a car that was dumped down Raleigh Ford, but they were unable to locate that vehicle. So then I walked over to Raleigh Ford where the other deputies were to try to assist them with finding the car. That was what I believe she left the abandoned Raleigh Ford.
Did you find the car?
I did.
What kind of car was it?
It was a black Honda.
Okay. And where was that vehicle at when you found it?
All in the first point of Raleigh Ford.
Okay. And what did you do next after locating the vehicle?
Deputy Floyd, Deputy approached the vehicle on foot, where we then found 2 males inside of the car and a juvenile female with 3 dogs.
Okay. And did you ever identify who that child was? Who was it? Okay. And was Olivia removed from the vehicle? And were the 2 gentlemen removed from the vehicle? Okay. And to your knowledge, was Olivia supposed to be in that vehicle? And did you observe anything else in the vehicle?
While walking around the back of the vehicle after everybody was out of it, I saw a shotgun in the rear hatch underneath some like furniture or clothing, and I could see the stock.
Okay. So after clearing that vehicle, what did you do next?
I then went back to the original scene where I did the incident.
Okay. And when you got back to the original scene, what did you do next?
At that point, she was then identified, and we knew that she was under arrest. And we asked for a female officer to come conduct a full search.
Okay. And was Siobhan cooperative with the search, to your knowledge? How was she not cooperative?
Once the female officer arrived on the scene, Officer Barici, we asked Vincent to step out of the car, and she refused to step out. And she was given multiple orders to step out of the car and search, and she went. Then she eventually said, if the male deputies step away, then she'll come out. So we stepped back, and then she finally became cooperative, stepped out of the car for a search.
Okay. And during that search, was she cooperative? Cooperative. To your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. And was there anything located on Siobhan during the search?
Yes.
What was that?
Officer Barici located what she believed was a gun underneath Vincent's left armpit. She could feel like the metal, and she called out, is saying that she thought she found a gun and for our assistance. So then we went hands on with her, and I grabbed onto her left arm. Deputy Hannah grabbed onto her right arm. And then Deputy Burton was able to pull the handgun out under her armpit.
So you saw the gun come off of Siobhan Vincent's person. Okay. And at the time that handgun was located on her person, approximately how long has she been in contact with police?
Approximately 30 minutes.
And when that gun was located, was it loaded? Can I have one moment, Your Honor?
You may.
Thank you. Nothing further from people for this witness, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Deputy, when you first went to the location it's at Riley Court. Is that the name of the street?
Yes.
Did you have a warrant for the arrest of Siobhan Benson? Yep.
Lexington Parkway.
Lexington Parkway.
My first one there.
Yep.
Uh,
Okay. Did you have a description of the individuals that were allegedly involved in this incident at the time you first went there?
Briefly,
What do you mean briefly?
I remember that there was 2 males involved with U of M Michigan sweatshirts.
Okay. Did you have the height of any suspects involved?
No.
Hairstyle of any of the suspects involved?
No.
Okay. When you first observed this woman walking down the street, what was she doing wrong? Okay. So you got out and you then seized this woman who you see walking down the street that's not doing anything wrong, correct?
I have a question.
Well, when you got out, you cut on your overhead lights, correct?
Before she was, yes.
Right. So you have your overhead lights on, but you're in the car, right? Correct?
When the male came across.
Right.
I was in the car, yes.
So you got out of the car, you've detained the male. The male is now in your car. Is that correct?
Yes.
You're back in your car.
No, I never got that.
Okay, so you're outside your car. This woman is walking down the street, and while you have your overhead lights on, you then walk towards this woman.
Yes.
Okay, and then you start to question her. Correct?
Yes.
At that point, she's seized. Correct? Right, because if she'd have turned and ran, you would have chased her. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you have this woman seized that you haven't seen do anything wrong. You start to question her. Did you Mirandize her before you started questioning her?
No.
Before you searched the car or that you went with other deputies to find, did you have a warrant to search that car?
I didn't search.
Okay, you didn't search the car. Okay. And to be clear, when you went to handcuff this woman that you saw walking down the street, you hadn't observed her commit any arrestable offense.
I wasn't questioning her about it.
That's not my question. When you went to handcuff the woman that you saw walking down the street, who turned out to be Miss Vincent, you hadn't witnessed her commit any arrestable offense, correct? No further question.
Can you redirect?